All right, welcome in everyone to the deep dive. We're going to be talking about something today, something kind of interesting, I think. It's this idea that what we internalize, what we take in, what we kind of let into our minds and hearts really shapes how we act and interact with the world, what comes out of us.
Yeah, and it's something we probably all sense intuitively, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we've got this sermon by Dr. Bobby Allen. It's titled, What Goes In Comes Out. Pretty straightforward.
Straight to the point.
Straight to the point, yeah.
Mm.
And he's really drawing on this idea from Matthew chapter 15, verse 18. Basically what it says is that the things that come out of a person's mouth come from the heart.
Right, so it's about more than just our words. It's about where those words come from, what's driving them.
Right. It's about the source.
Yeah.
And so what we want to do today is really kind of dig into this core principle, this connection between what's going on inside us and what we then project outward, our actions, our words, how we treat people, how we react to things,
Yeah.
and see how it resonates with you, whether you're, whatever your background is or your interests are, because I think this is something pretty universal.
Absolutely. It's something that touches everyone. And Dr. Allen starts off with these really simple, really clear analogies that I think everyone can relate to. Like, if you plant an apple seed,
Yeah.
you get an apple tree. You don't get an orange tree,
Right.
right? Or if you pour clean water into a glass, you expect clean water to come out when you drink it.
You don't expect it to magically turn into juice or something.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he uses those really basic examples to illustrate a bigger spiritual principle. It's about the idea that what we take in, what we feed ourselves, whether that's physically or mentally or spiritually, it's going to have a direct impact on what comes out of us, on how we behave, what we say, all of that.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And it really makes you think about what kinds of seeds we're planting in our own lives, right? What are we surrounding ourselves with?
Exactly. Yeah.
And it makes me think, too, just in my own day-to-day life,
Yeah.
have you ever noticed like a direct link between maybe the news you've been watching or the shows you've been binging or even just like the conversations you've been having and then maybe your own mood or how you've reacted to something?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's almost like our internal atmosphere, our internal environment gets influenced by what we let in.
Oh, for sure. It's like our minds and our hearts are like sponges. They soak up everything around them. And what's interesting is how this really simple idea, this idea that what goes in affects what comes out, it actually connects with something that Jesus himself taught.
Yeah.
In Matthew chapter 15, verse 11.
Yeah.
At that time, the religious leaders, they were so focused on outward actions and rituals, like what you ate, what you drank, how you washed your hands.
The external stuff.
The external stuff, right.
Yeah.
But Jesus, he totally shifted the focus inward. He said, it's not what goes into your mouth that defiles you.
That's what comes out.
Right. It's what comes out because it's coming from the heart. It's coming from that inner space.
And Dr. Allen actually uses this really striking image. He talks about the heart as a kind of spiritual storage tank. He says, whatever we consistently put into this tank, whether it's good stuff, positive stuff, or bad stuff, negative stuff, that's eventually what's going to come out.
It's like what you put in is what you get out.
Yeah, exactly. And he gives these concrete examples. Like think about filling that tank with negativity, with, just a lot of complaining or gossip or just impure thoughts. He says that's going to lead to, a lot more negative speech and behavior in our lives.
Right. Because it's like that negativity is just building up inside and eventually it has to spill over somewhere.
Right. And it can come out in ways that we don't even realize, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, little things. Snapping at someone, being impatient.
Yeah. Or just having a negative outlook on things.
Yeah. And on the other hand, if we're filling our tanks with positive things, if we're focusing on gratitude, on love, on kindness, on things that uplift us, well, that's what we're going to be more likely to share with the world.
So it's almost like we have a choice then. Are we going to fill it with the good stuff or the bad stuff? What are we going to prioritize?
Exactly. Yeah. It's a choice. And it's something we have to be intentional about because it's easy to just kind of drift along and let whatever's around us fill up our tanks.
Right, exactly. And it makes you kind of stop and take stock of your own life, doesn't it? Like, what's the dominant content in my own storage tank right now? What am I mostly filled with?
That's a powerful question.
And there's this verse in Proverbs 4.23. It says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it.
It's almost like that verse is the instruction manual for maintaining a healthy spiritual storage tank, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. It's like a reminder that we need to be careful about what we let into our hearts because it really does have a huge impact on everything else, on our actions, on our relationships, on how we see the world.
And Dr. Allen really stresses that point. He says that if we're not careful about guarding our internal environment, we're much more likely to struggle with those external expressions. It's going to come out in our thoughts and our words and our actions. And it's not always going to be pretty. Right. And he then goes on to talk about the power of our words. He quotes Proverbs 18.21. It says, "The tongue has the power of life and death." And what's so powerful about that verse is that it recognizes that our words aren't neutral.
Yeah.
They have an actual impact. They have weight. They can either build people up or they can tear them down.
Encourage or discourage.
Right, exactly. And so much of that, Dr. Allen says, goes back to the content of our hearts. A heart that's filled with bitterness or anger or resentment, that's going to come out in our words. But a heart that's filled with love and joy and peace, well, that's going to produce words that are life-giving,
Yeah.
that are encouraging, that are healing.
Yeah, and it really makes you think about those times when you've been on the receiving end of both, right?
Absolutely.
Like those words that just kind of cut you down versus those words that just lift you up and make you feel seen and understood.
Yeah, and it all comes back to that source, to what's inside the person speaking those words.
Right. It's almost like our mouths are just the outlet for what's already brewing inside.
It's the overflow.
Yeah, exactly. And Jesus himself actually said something very similar in Luke chapter 6, verse 5. He said, "A good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his heart, and an evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in his heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of." I mean, that last part, for the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. It's so direct.
It's so simple, but it's so profound.
It's so profound.
Yeah.
It really just makes you stop and think, like, what is my heart currently full of? And how is that playing out in my day-to-day interactions with people?
Yeah. Are we living in a way that's consistent with what we say we believe?
Yeah. And so if we recognize this connection, right, between what we take in and what we put out, it seems like the next logical step is to be intentional about it.
Absolutely. We have to make a conscious effort to choose what we allow in.
Because if we want to see more positive outcomes, if we want to be more positive people, if we want to have more positive impact on the world around us, we have to start with what we're putting into ourselves.
Exactly, yeah. And Dr. Allen, he actually highlights several key areas where we can start to practice this intentionality, areas where we can start to be more careful about our input.
Okay, let's talk about those. What are some of the things he suggests?
Well, the first one, and this is something that's really central to his message, is the importance of engaging with God's word. He quotes Psalm 119.11, which says, "I have hidden your word in my heart that I might not sin against you." Now, I know that for some people listening, they might not be coming from a religious perspective, but I think the principle here, the underlying principle, is something that everyone can relate to. It's about making a conscious choice to immerse ourselves in information, in ideas, in content that aligns with our values.
Yeah.
That aligns with the kind of person we want to be. It's about building a strong internal framework that can help us to navigate the challenges of life.
So instead of just kind of passively consuming whatever's in front of us, we're actively seeking out things that will build us up.
Exactly, yeah. And it's about filling ourselves with truth, with goodness, with beauty, things that will nourish our souls.
I love that. It's like we're curating our own mental diet.
Yeah, exactly. And Dr. Allen's next point is about the impact of our social environment. He draws from 1 Corinthians 15.33, where it says, "Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character." And that's such a powerful reminder that the people we surround ourselves with have a huge impact on who we become.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's not just about what we read or watch. It's about who we spend our time with, too.
Exactly. Think about it. The people you spend the most time with, their values, their attitudes, their habits, they rub off on you, whether you realize it or not. So we have to be really intentional about choosing our friends, our mentors, the people we look up to. We have to ask ourselves, are these people building me up or are they tearing me down?
Yeah, I think it's easy to underestimate the impact of that. Like we might think, oh, I can handle hanging out with these people. It's not a big deal. But over time, it really can shape us.
Absolutely. And it's not about, cutting off everyone who's not perfect. It's more about being aware of the influence people have on us and making sure that the people we're closest to are generally a positive force in our lives.
That's a great point. And then Dr. Allen goes on to talk about being mindful of what we allow in. through our senses, particularly our eyes and ears. He actually quotes a verse from Philippians 4.8. It says, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. It's like he's giving us this filter for everything we encounter, isn't
It
it?
is, yeah. It's like a checklist for our mental diet.
Yeah. So instead of just passively consuming whatever's in front of us, we can stop and ask, is this true? Is this good? Is this beautiful? And if it's not, maybe we need to be more discerning about what we're letting into our minds and hearts.
Exactly. And, that can apply to so many things. The books we read, the movies we watch, the music we listen to, the conversations we have, even just the things we scroll through on social media. It's all input, and it's all shaping us.
And I think in today's world, it's so easy to just be bombarded with all this input,
Hmm.
to just be constantly consuming. It takes a real effort to be intentional about it, to stop and ask those questions.
Yeah, it does. But it's so worth it because ultimately what we allow in is what's going to shape our reality.
And finally, Dr. Allen touches on the idea that even if we haven't always been as careful as we should have been, there's still hope.
Yeah.
If we feel like we've been filling our tanks with the wrong things, there's a possibility for renewal.
Right. He reminds us that we can always choose to change.
He actually points to a prayer from King David in Psalm 51.10. David says, create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. So even if we feel like we've messed up, even if we feel like we've been feeding ourselves the wrong things, we can ask for that internal cleansing,
Mhm.
for that fresh start.
That's such a powerful message of hope. It's a reminder that it's never too late to start making different choices.
Right, right. And that brings us to the end of Dr. Allen's sermon. And he ends by issuing this call for a personal check-in. He asks these really pointed questions like, what are you feeding your mind and heart? What kind of words are you speaking? What kind of influences are you allowing into your life?
It's like he's challenging us to take a look in the mirror.
Yeah, and I think that's so important
Yeah,
because it's easy to just kind of go through life on autopilot, isn't it? But this is about waking up and becoming aware of what we're letting in and how it's affecting us.
absolutely. And the empowering message here is that we're not passive in all of this. We have a choice. We can choose to be more intentional about what we allow to shape us.
So as we come to the end of this deep dive into Dr. Allen's sermon, this exploration of the principle of what goes in comes out, I think we're left with a pretty clear understanding of how much power our internal world has over our external reality. It's such a simple idea,
Yeah.
but its implications are huge.
They really are. It affects everything.
So we want to leave you with something to think about, a challenge for you to take away from this conversation. Think about one area of your life where you would like to see a more positive outcome. It could be in your relationships, it could be in your work, it could be in your personal growth, anything. And then ask yourself, what's one small thing I could start inputting today? One small change I could make to start shifting that balance in a more positive direction.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be something huge. It could be as simple as choosing to listen to a different kind of music or podcast, or reading an uplifting book instead of scrolling through social media, or having a conversation with someone who inspires you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about being intentional. It's about making those small choices that will eventually lead to big changes.
Because it all starts with what we let in.
And that's it for today. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.